couple of things that sort of stuck in my mind is that not long after I came to work in Melbourne in the early 70s, there was a reported incident occurred in the CBD of Melbourne where a young policeman had jumped onto the bonnet of a car of somebody who was reasonably well known. And while they didn't actually say what this person in the car was like, it was sort of background knowledge that they'd been dressing, and this young policeman was trying to, in effect, arrest this person. And so that was where that impact of law and or lack of knowledge of law about what you could and couldn't do, and that sort of sits in the back of your mind. You think, if I get caught, what's going to happen? And that then plays on for many years afterwards, sort of thinking one of the reasons why you keep it in the background and keep it secret.
You always have the stereotype of transgender. So the stereotype of transgender to most people is someone who's a man, who's secretly dressing as a woman, who's going to go get lower surgery and try and live socially as a woman full time. The current climate goes to show that there are people who have a varied gender expression across the spectrum. And that helps a bit with it, because for me, what I've learned personally is most people who see me when I'm not actually presenting like these things, I'm half the time still wearing men's clothes. I pull my hair in a ponytail in the back of a ball cap, and just live a pretty comfortable, functional clothing life, because I learned that my hair doesn't define me, my clothes don't define me, earrings don't define me, makeup don't define me when it comes to my gender identity. And there are folks who live within that gender expression of binary, non-binary, gender diverse, who help with a bit of that definition when it comes to expressing ourselves. And I think that's probably one of the best things now, because at that time, men dressed as men, women dressed as women. And if you did otherwise, if a woman dressed slightly masculine, well, immediately, oops, she's a lesbian. If a man's immediately dressed a bit feminine, well, oop, he must be gay. And so there's this really weird obsession we have as human beings for people to dress in one extreme or the other when it comes to our gender expression. And probably what's so hard and confusing for me as well, Greer, is because when I'm not actually working or doing these things here, so I'm speaking, I'm presenting, I'm wearing something with a bit more bangle, I've got my necklace, I've got something with a different kind of neckline, a bit of strap, my earrings. But when I'm outside, like I said, I'm wearing maybe some hiking shoes, maybe some cargo pants that have got some function to them. I'm wearing just long sleeve black tops, ball caps, a hoodie, and that's a regular thing for me. But I found that even within our own community now, I actually have people coming to me saying, "Michelle, are you okay? I notice your presentation is a bit more masculine. That you're are you okay? You're not detransitioning, are you? Or, I thought you were a trans woman." So it's just interesting how that gender expression spectrum is even questioned within our own wider rainbow community.
For many years, I don't sort of necessarily identify I'm this or that. I see this as a full expression of me as a human being, as a person, and my preferred identity is as you're seeing me now. But like I do turn up to different things just with my hair pulled back in a ponytail and no makeup on and a pair of jeans and just a t-shirt and jumper. And, I'm quite comfortable. I wander between both almost seamlessly now. And, so at family functions, if my kids call me dad or grandpa, doesn't worry me at all. And I'm going to be in a situation in November of being a great grandparent. And,
Oh,
with,
congratulations.
yes, it sort of makes one feel a little bit older, but my granddaughter and her partner have a very loving relationship, and it's something that they've been able to develop partly because my granddaughter has known me as Greer for many years, but also that she knows that she can be comfortable to who she is and without having to worry about what the rest of the family is going to think, because we just have taken a view for many years that our kids just need to be responsible, independent adults, and be responsible. If you're responsible for your own independence, then we're not there to question it. We might not think that you're doing exactly the right thing, but that's a thought. It's not an action to prevent you from doing it, and
Yeah.
that's more or less where I sort of see myself now.
Yeah, no, I'm the same. I still go by dad, but it's she and her. And it's funny how people still have those weird quirks when they hear those things going, that doesn't quite make sense. Like, oh my God, you're being outed. But my daughters are always, immediately, my daughters are 14 and 11 now. And when I started this whole journey, there were 7 and I think 4. And these what we've gone through over the years and what we've seen, how accepting my kids are. If I tried to be anything else or try to go back to living as a male, my daughters would probably smother me in my sleep with my pillow. But the there's full acceptance. There's, I think even my youngest is like, she says to me something about how, she does find girls pretty, and I'm like, yeah, cool. Then if that's where you go, that's where you go. If you don't, you don't. And she talks about how she wants to be a drag queen, and I'm like, baby, just do you. I just want you to be the best you possible.
Yes, and that's really the key, I think, to what I see as one aspects of the change to the legislation in or passing that particular bill in the year 2000 is that more and more people can realise that yes, you can be yourself and be openly yourself, and there is redress if somebody really pushes hard and tries to downgrade you or denigrate you or even be physically violent against you because you are looking different. And so it has, even in the time that I've been involved with Seahorse since 2002, that, you can sort of see the general acceptance around the broad community. Like I have really no issue when I go out on public transport or wander around the city or in and out of shops. Um, so the experience, you can sort of physically see it happening every day.
But it's also, being able to educate our wider community around that level of confidence. And the thing is, you go and do those things same as me, because when we do it, we present ourselves in a way that we belong. We belong there. And that's just it. We don't actually try to, we don't shy away from it. We just go about our business. Where sometimes when people make a bigger deal of it and show that fear, people can sense that. And that's no different than if you say refugee, or if you're a more introverted sort of a woman who's a bit more, quiet, reserved, and a bit more uncomfortable. Or, as soon as people see you as a more uncomfortable person, they're going to pick on that. And as long as we can show others that you don't have to be afraid and it's okay, you belong here, then so that's just why we're here to do this.
Yes, it is really a massive change. As I said, the last 20 years has, made a big difference to my life, and I feel much more confident in myself. But I think also too that particularly my children sort of see me as a better person too, less irritable, not the ogre that I might have been as a younger parent. And so that's sort of encouraging to me as a person too, just to know that that they sort of see the difference in me, and they see that yes, you can actually, once you're comfortable with yourself, all those sort of pieces of anger sort of seem to disappear.
And what's really good is knowing that those protections are in place so that we can be ourselves. Because, if those protections weren't in place, then we would continue being grumpy, we'd continue being uncomfortable to be around, we'd be horrible parents, we'd be horrible partners. And, it's that fear of, going to work and not being yourself, not bringing your full self to every space you go into, and knowing that you can just kind of live your life and just be you, and with no real repercussions. That's the first piece of amazing progress that we have so far.
What do you see as the positives and possibly some negatives for the short and medium term future?
Right now, I think a lot of us can only focus on the negatives, but I only focus on the negatives of to look at the list of things that we need to do to change those negatives. So currently, there's a large portion of our community that is unemployed. And not just because of their identity, but also because of maybe the industries that they're in and the retentions that have been put in place because of this. There's so many people who are just pretty much sitting in limbo. The thing is we also are looking at what's happening globally, with the negativity towards, say, our community. So let's just focus on trans right now in general. Um, when you look at employment stats, it's usually around LGBT as a whole. Yes, the acronym is longer, but for the sake of this conversation, let's say LGBT. The Unfortunately, and this is not the finger pointing of evil white cis gay man or cis woman or anything like that. Uh, Unfortunately, we're seen as a whole, and there is a large number of cisgendered gay individuals within our community who are actually quite comfortable. They do have good jobs, they do have a good lifestyle, they might have a partner, they might be moving forward. But there are those of us who are disadvantaged cohorts within the wider rainbow community, this wider LGBT space, like, say, trans people of color. There are, queer folks, intersex folks, who are really still struggling to find work or find a place. There's not many places for our tribes to go to. So we've retreated back to online where we normally live. So currently, as well, we're looking at people who are still hiding and not going out, getting that release, not having a chance to express themselves properly and who they are. We have people not sure what they're going to do. Some who might be considering to look at transitioning themselves during this time. So there's a lot of just limbo happening for everyone. But what we need to be doing is we need to be focusing on preparing ourselves. Because I work in the corporate space so much and I've done so much work in around employment itself, my biggest, like, if anybody's watching this who does identify as somebody who is one of those disadvantaged individuals, there are corporate organizations who are actually wanting to engage us. I actually, because I'm recently working within the transport industry, and they actually came to me, one of the alliances within the wider transport came to me and said, Michelle, we actually want you to bring us CVs of people who'd be interested in coming into the transport industry. And I go, yes, yes, I actually do have people who are interested. And so they specifically want to target our community. Some places even want to go and tailor jobs so that they can match who we are to types of jobs they have to even help us. So there's a lot of that happening. So when we actually start getting back to the point of recruitment, when we start getting back to, jobs becoming available, we are going to be the communities that they're wanting to target. So what we need to be doing is doing workshopping where we can, working on our CV, practicing maybe some interview stuff, putting together a support system amongst our friends and our family, that we do have those we can trust, that if we do an interview, we have somebody to come to speak to afterward. So right now we are in a prime position to prepare ourselves. If somebody basically says, well, look, I'm on Centerlink, I don't have to do anything, I'm just going to take this as a mental health break, find something within yourself and that drive that go, wow, I'm actually in a prime spot right now that I can be targeted in a good way for a change instead of the negative way that I normally see when it comes to moving forward with my career.
I sort of feel from my point of view that there is, like Seahorse, we deal with a one-on-one circumstance where it just gives a space for somebody to start exploring themselves, and then they can sort of move on to what you sort of do and much more active in the community and preparing people for it. So there's a big balance that goes between each of the different groups that have been around, and there's a niche for every group to be there. And but it's just allowing society to see that we are just ordinary, decent human beings, and that's what I really enjoy. And Michelle, thank you for joining us in this conversation today. And for everyone out there, we are just ordinary human beings. My name's Greer McGearey. Thank you for watching BENT TV.